So I wanted to talk to you guys really quickly about I don't want to call them rules, but the way Italians eat, okay? When you can eat, what you're supposed to eat at certain times, because the Italians have really perfected the whole idea of the palate and when you should have things and when it's going to be best for your palate and etc. So when you come here, so you don't look like, you don't understand. I mean, you can get a real, not an attitude. Italians don't really give an attitude. They just won't understand why you want to do something that in a lot of cases we Americans do all the time. Okay? So the first thing is that you have to understand that there are certain times that you are allowed to eat, and that restaurants especially are not open at the same time frames that restaurants are open in the States, okay? And in those middle periods, a lot of times there are very few choices of like what you can have, you understand? So, for instance, when you get up in the morning, and you probably heard this before, Italians don't really eat a full breakfast. They don't usually have real food for breakfast. They usually have a coffee, they'll have a croissant, what they call a cornetto, et cetera, et cetera. So that's usually what they do. And in the morning, that's when they have cappuccino, okay? Which is one of the things that you will get a weird look, okay? If you ask for a cappuccino, let's say after 11:45, 12 o'clock. Okay, so usually you don't want to ask for a cappuccino. Let's say, I have a funny story. One of my cousins came to Italy with me. He really didn't know, basically the rules. Okay, so we were out to dinner, and it's kind of crazy to have coffee while you're eating, dinner. I know a lot of Americans do it, but he was tired and he wanted to order a cappuccino, and he turned to me and he said, "You think I can order a cappuccino?" And I was like, "Oh boy!" I was curious to see what was going to happen, so I said, "Go ahead, ask the waiter, see what happens." It didn't go well. Okay, they looked at him like he was crazy, and they said, "But why? You're eating dinner right now. You're going to screw up your palate, basically. I mean, you can't have a cappuccino." And who has a cappuccino at like 2 p.m.? You understand? So they didn't even give it to him. Okay, they figured he must be kidding. And this is what you're going to come up against, sometimes, with these kind of requests. And, it's a lot better to just go along. I mean, when in Rome, right? And, technically, this is Italy. So, you want to try to conform and at least try and do things the way Italians do them. Okay, so let's go over it. You get up in the morning, okay? Most Italians will either have a coffee and a cornetto, or they'll have a little bit of fruit, but it's always a very light situation, okay? Usually it's not going to be a heavy, breakfast. If you're a tourist and you're staying in hotels and it's a tourist area, they're going to serve an American breakfast for sure. So you can always have a breakfast, and you could probably find a place that is going to serve an American breakfast in just about any of the major cities. But when you're in the smaller towns, okay, which is really where the real Italy is, okay, you're not going to find it, okay? So it's best to just conform, and you have breakfast in a bar. Now, bar cafes, they're the same thing here, okay? Every cafe has a bar, has an espresso machine behind the bar, and you're going to see them, they're packed in the mornings, especially in the cities, with Italians having an espresso or having a cappuccino, a lot of them having a cappuccino, having a little something to eat, like a little tart, a little fruit tart, or, something like that, or, even a piece of bread, okay? That's very common, okay? Now, that is basically served up until about 11:30, okay? Even, 12 o'clock, you'll find places, bar cafes, okay? And some people will even have a grappa or an actual drink or with their coffee. Some people will. It's not very common, but you see it. So if you want to do that, you could also. But then lunch begins for real, okay, basically at 12:30. Usually 12:30. And sometimes in some places it doesn't start until 1 o'clock, believe it or not. okay? And lunch usually only available until 2 p.m., okay? 2:30 the latest. If you go past 2:30, they're closed, okay? And this is the crazy thing, okay? So from 2:30 in basically all the cities all over Italy, okay, from 2:30, once again, except for the really touristy areas, you're gonna find places that you're gonna find like sandwich places that are open, but the restaurants are closed. They're literally open from the earliest 12:30 to 2:30. So that's 2 hours to get lunch in. Okay, so if you miss that window, you got to go back to the bar cafe situation, and they have like pre-made paninis, usually like in a case, and you can get like a little piece of cake again with a cup of coffee. You can have a beer. You can sit down and have a beer. They'll bring you like a little bit of peanuts and stuff like that, with your beer. Or you can usually order a panino. And some of these bars also will have salads available. But that's it. You can't really have a sit-down proper lunch after 2:30, and that goes from 2:30 all the way to 8:30 at night. Okay, so you really want to try to get lunch in. Okay, because otherwise you're going to be just eating like snacks at a bar, okay, from 2:30 to 8:30, okay? But we have what we call Aperitivo here, which at 6 p.m., bar cafes turn into Aperitivo hours. And it's really cool because they will lay out like kind of a buffet of food. A lot of crostinos with like anchovy on top and, salt cod on top, especially here in Venice. You see a lot of salt cod. It'll change depending on, where you are. But they're like little bite-sized stuff that you have for free that comes with your drinks. So you come in, you order like, let's say you order an Aperol Spritz, which is a very common aperitivo drink, or a Negroni. Those are probably the two most common things to have, okay? You're having that, and that's a pre-dinner warm-up, basically. From 6 to about 8 o'clock, just about every bar, cafe, wine bars, stuff like that will have that, okay? So it's a pre-dinner, okay, couple of hours. Imagine that, pre-dinner, and then you go out to dinner at 8:30, 8 o'clock. Some places are open at 8. Most are open at 8. Some open up at 8:30, but then you have another window, usually, depending on the city you're in, where you're going to go 8:30 to the latest they're going to seat you is 9:45, sometimes 10 o'clock. They're not going to seat you past that. So your window for dinner, again, is very small. It's only 8, basically, to 10. In the best case scenario, they might take you in a city, if it's a late night restaurant, quote unquote, there's not many of them, they might take you till about 10:30. Here in Venice, there's a couple places that will take you up until about 10:45, and there's one place called La Mascheretta, which will take you up until almost midnight. But that's the rarity, and that's like only one place in this whole city that, basically does that, okay? So you got to keep these things in mind, and, you have to pay attention, to what time it is, and you have to make sure that, you make your reservations. Because, again, if you miss dinner, okay, you're back to the same situation, but now you're back to a bar cafe situation where there's really almost nothing left to eat. There's going to be no more sandwiches out. There's going to be no more stuff out. It's a lot harder to eat. So you got to keep these things in mind. And, this is the way Italians do things, okay? This is how it is here, okay? There's no sense, fighting it, okay? If you're used to having dinner at 6 p.m., you're going to need to change it here. You're going to need to have dinner at 8 p.m., okay? If, you're used to having, like a really big breakfast, you're going to need to think about that and, talk to your concierge about it when you get to the hotel, because, it's few and far between that you're going to find places that are accommodating that, And, once again, the tourist meccas accommodate Americans a lot more, okay? But, okay, they usually suck, okay? The food sucks. You see, it's all pre-prepared stuff, okay? It's really tough. The other thing, I want to go over too. Gelaterias, okay? A very good way to tell, well, first of all, you always look for the gelaterias that are out of the way, okay? Stay away from the ones that are in the main piazzas. 9 times out of 10, and you can tell too because they pile up the gelato high in the containers, okay? They pile them way up high for I guess for show, I don't know. But that's a good way to tell because no really good gelateria does that. So that's a big sign right there. As soon as you see that, you're like, that's probably not a good gelateria. And realize that people on the streets, locals, people in the shops, they want to tell you where to go. They want to help you. They want to push you towards the better places. Don't be afraid to talk to people in Italy. It's a big part of the experience here is to get to know these people. They're really friendly and really nice, and they love to meet people that are from the United States. They love to try to practice their English, whatever English they have. You can practice, some of your Italian. Nowadays, we have all these applications. iTranslate is, one of the ones that, I use sometimes when, there are times when I'm not sure how to say something also. I'm pretty fluent, but, sometimes a couple of years ago, my dad had to go to the hospital, okay? I'm not well versed in, health lingo, so that's not part of my vocabulary. So anyway, iTranslate is a great program to get. It's a great application, and it even has where you can press a button on it, you can press the screen, and it will actually say the words for you. It'll say the phrase for you. Okay, so you can just repeat whatever the phrase is, to whoever you're talking to, or just play it for them, and that's what you want to say. It ends up being a lot of fun, guys. Trying to communicate, trying to speak Italian, and believe me, Italians appreciate it when you're trying to speak their language, just like any other country does. Okay, and they really do want to help you, and they really do want to show you where you should go. They're excited to show you their regional cuisine, their regional food. See, that's what's great also about going to the smaller towns, to the smaller cities, okay? You'll find more of those types of people. You find them in the big cities too, but you find them outside of the big tourist areas. So always venture outside of the tourist areas. Meet people, talk to people. Shop owners are the perfect people to talk to because you're already in there, browsing, okay? Ask them, say, where should we eat tonight? We really want a real Italian experience, something local, and they're always going to point you towards an inexpensive place because the best restaurants in Italy are mom and pop places, okay? Micro-regional places, okay, that are out of the way, that are antique. A lot of them are so old and passed down from generation to generation. That's the real charm of Italy. You see me, and I'm in Venice right now, and it's hard to actually eat in those places because they're outside of the city because the city is so full. There are a lot of great restaurants here that are small, beautiful, antique places, don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, the tourists are everywhere here. So it's almost like you really got to go out to the the outskirts of Venice, to find, the real local, places. But it's totally doable. You just have to ask. Okay, and you can find them, okay? And that's basically it. If you have any questions ever about etiquette here, about any of the stuff that I just discussed, just hit me up on DM. I'm happy to talk to you guys about it. I'm happy to help. I love Italy. I love inspiring you guys, to come here and, check out Italy. But just remember, when in Rome, okay, do as the Romans do, okay? Because here, you will get a lot of respect for that, okay? And also, one more thing. When you are eating, okay, and you're ordering, all right, remember, salads come at the end of the meal also, okay? How you order the food. So when you're looking, you're going to see antipasti, you're going to see primi, secondi, contorni, okay? You should follow that order. You don't have to order all the courses. Okay, you can just do pasta and secondi. Primi is all the pastas. It's going to be all the starches. It's going to be a risotto. It's going to be any of the soups. Okay, antipasti is not really going to have salads on it. Okay, the salads will be listed under contorni. Okay, and it pretty much they'll have insalata verde. They'll have ensalada mista. Ensalada verde is just greens, literally, whatever they have. Ensalada mista will be greens, carrots, maybe some shaved fennel, maybe some cucumbers, depending on the place. And that's what I usually get. I'll usually ask for either arugula e pomodorini, arugula and little baby tomatoes, but not everybody has arugula, okay? Or I'll just have an ensalada mista. And you have it after the meal or with the secondi. It's totally okay to order it with the secondi, which is the main course. Secondi is either the meat or the fish, okay? So, antipasti first, okay? Pasta, primi second, secondi third, and you can have sides of vegetables too. That's what I do too, is I order spinach, I order spinach. Okay, a lot of times they have sauteed spinach. Almost everybody has it. You can ask for things too. That's the other thing, okay? Now, when you're in the tourist meccas also, okay, the best thing to do is to stick with the plates that are the most popular in that area, because most likely it's going to be good. Don't get into complicated dishes, even in the tourist places. Sometimes you really want to eat overlooking, St. Mark's Square, or you really want to eat overlooking, the Coliseum, or, wherever you are, or overlooking the Pantheon, right? You're going to sit down in a tourist restaurant. It'll have a big tourist menu outside, okay? What I do in that situation is I go for the sure thing. Every Italian restaurant can make a decent spaghetti pomodoro, okay? Great thing to order. Okay, they can make you a spaghetti garlic and oil too. You just have to ask. This is something that everyone knows how to make, and they will make. And that's the other thing. When you're in restaurants, they will always make you simple food if that's what you want. They will smile at you. They'll be like, yeah, okay, spaghetti pomodoro. Let's make spaghetti pomodoro. You just have to be careful, not to order things in tourist places that seem complicated, and try to stay away, from fish dishes and, tourist places, unless it's like a spaghetti with clams in like Venice. The clams in Venice, they're right here. They come right here. Remember where you are. Remember the products that are coming in that are abundant, okay? And also, one of the things that you can always get, and it's a great antipasti, and everyone will pretty much have it, is mozzarella and tomatoes, caprese. Everyone loves caprese, right? Great thing to order in tourist restaurants. When I go to a tourist restaurant, I usually order caprese and spaghetti pomodoro, and I'll order an ensalada mista with it, and that's my standard tourist, restaurant overlooking, some kind of a, view, order, okay? Keep it simple, okay? Whenever possible, okay, also choose a very simple wine, okay? That's the other thing. Have a simple meal overlooking a beautiful, structure. That's the way to go in Italy, okay? And always talk to your waiter and ask him questions about what they're doing. Like, what is their specialty, okay? What they really want you to ask is, what are the regional specialties in this area that I should try, okay? And put yourself in their hands when you know it's a good place, when someone's referred you, I've referred you or whatever, and it's a regional place. Follow the regional food, okay? A lot of you also expect something that doesn't happen. It does happen in the cities, but every restaurant doesn't have spaghetti pesto, for instance, okay? Doesn't have bolognese, for instance, okay? You guys imagine what Italian food is on a whole in the United States, but here it's very regional, okay? Bolognese, you usually only find it in Emilia-Romagna, around Bologna, and a little bit in the regions that border on Emilia-Romagna. So that's the time to order bolognese. Do a little research beforehand, depending on where you're going to be going, as to what the regional dishes are from the area that you're going to be staying in. And that's what you should explore as much as possible and learn as much as possible. I've done bolognese tours in Emilia-Romagna, all around Emilia-Romagna, because I wanted to see how they made it in all the different places. That's a very interesting thing to do. That's what you want to do. When you're in that region, you want to eat those regional dishes. When you're in Sicily, for instance, you don't ask for bolognese. You look like an idiot if you do, okay? They don't have it most likely, okay? They'll have spaghetti pomodoro, that's universal, Okay, if you're anywhere near the sea, they'll have spaghetti vongole, spaghetti with clams. That's universal also. Use your head and think about these things, and you'll have a much better experience. Because just because Italian restaurants in New York, like mine, have a smattering of all the, we feature a lot of different regional dishes from a lot of different places because Frank Restaurant is a Southern Italian trattoria. So we cover the whole south of the boot, okay? That doesn't exist in Italy. That's only something that we do in New York, okay? Supper Restaurant is the whole north of the boot. It's a Northern Italian osteria. And Little Frankie's is a Naples pizzeria. So you see, we have a wide range there. And but that doesn't exist in Italy, and don't expect it to, okay? Because it won't be there. They're gonna do their regional dishes, and there are tons of regional dishes, and that's the charm of Italy. And that's what you have to give in on. So many people tell me that they go to Italy and the food is no good because they're expecting that. They're expecting to walk into every Italian restaurant and have bolognese on the menu, and pesto on the menu, and lasagna on the menu, and all the other famous dishes. They're expecting every Italian restaurant to have that. Only the tourist restaurants are gonna do that in the major cities because they know you're coming in asking for it, because you're coming in asking for it all the time. You understand? And when you have a kid, always order them something very simple. You can always get a pasta with butter and Parmigiano. You can always get a spaghetti pomodoro for your kids. Be satisfied with that. They're going to make a good version of it. People are proud of their spaghetti pomodoro. Everyone grew up with spaghetti pomodoro. Spaghetti pomodoro is the easiest way out of a jam every time. And spaghetti with clams is also a great way out of a jam if you're anywhere near the sea. Okay? Also, if you're near the sea, you're always going to have the option of whole roasted fish, okay? Great option. It's going to be very fresh, okay? Whole fish is the best way to go when you're anywhere near the sea for a main course, okay? Keep it simple, keep it clean. Involve your waiter in the ordering process. Talk to the natives, talk to the locals, okay? Get involved. Get excited, man. This is the best place to eat in the world. I come here 3 times a year because I'm a chef and I appreciate it. And there's many chefs out there that agree with me. This is the best food in the world. Micro-regional food. This is the definition of local, the definition of, sustainable. The Italians have done miracles with agriculture. They communicate, the chefs and the farmers are... The farmers communicate with their chefs. They are doing what they know their chefs want because the farmers are Italians and they're eaters too. And they know how the products should be. Everything is so harmonious here, okay? And you just have to tap into it, okay? And try to stay away from those tours, okay? 5 cities in, 7 days. You're not gonna see anything. You only do that if you just want to see the cities and you don't care about anything else. You just want to, I understand it, How many chances are you going to get to go to Italy? A lot of people don't get to, come as much as me. This is my job. This is what I do. This is for my restaurants that I do this, okay? You can't do what I do probably, but believe me, it would be a better experience for you to come here for that 1 week and spend it in one city and get to know the city, really. Trust me, that would be a better experience. You're going to experience the real Italy. If you're only here for the sights and you don't give a shit about the food, then fine, do your 5 city tours. You want to check it off your bucket list that you were, that you saw the Colosseum, that, you saw, the Vatican, you saw the Sistine Chapel, you saw all the different Duomos. Fine, okay? But don't complain about the food then. And don't complain about the experience to me. Okay? Because believe me, there's a much better experience here waiting for you if you just push the right buttons.